Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States and Mrs. Clinton, accompanied by Eli Siegel, Harris Wofford, General Colin Powell, Governor Mike Leavitt, Sergeant Shriver, Coretta Scott King, and AmeriCorps member Andre Crisp.
To the White House for the 5th anniversary celebration of AmeriCorps. And I am so pleased to see all of you here. We apologize for the delay. The weather delayed a lot of people. We just got our last guests in and seated, and we're so grateful that all of you could make it here for this very important celebration. It was an idea, but it became a reality 5 years ago when the first AmeriCorps members stood on the White House lawn and really became the embodiment of a cherished idea of the President and so many others throughout our country. The idea that America's young people were not cynics or slackers. They were instead idealists and patriots, and among the greatest American generations we have had. The idea that young people did want to be part of something bigger than themselves, to take responsibility and make a difference in their communities. We only needed to find a way to unleash that potential. And national service, giving more Americans the opportunity to serve their communities and to earn money for their own college educations, was one of the reasons that my husband ran for president. It remains one of his proudest achievements, and today we can see why. In just 5 years, 150,000 Americans have joined AmeriCorps. These AmeriCorps members have helped to immunize more than 1 million people, taught, tutored, or mentored 4.4 million children, built some 11,000 homes, and have truly led our nation in a true season of service. All across the country, I have seen AmeriCorps in action, and I've met some extraordinary people. People like Lok Trong, who came to America as a refugee from Vietnam and joined AmeriCorps to mentor at-risk teenagers so that he could give something back to the country that had helped his family in their neediest hours. Or Ashley Dumas, who after graduating from college taught GED classes and provided child care in a shelter for single mothers in South Boston. Or Colin Yost, who taught needy families how to conserve energy and prevent lead poisoning in Portland, Oregon, and used his AmeriCorps award to help pay for law school. In short, the young people of AmeriCorps are getting things done. But even more than getting things done, they are strengthening our democracy and building our society so that it continues into the 21st century as strong as ever. You know, in America, citizenship has always meant more than paying taxes, more than going to work, more than obeying the law. Citizenship is built on the belief that we are all responsible for one another, that we meet our challenges not through government alone or as isolated individuals, but as a true community working together. Over the years, I've been to many countries where I've had the privilege of representing the United States, places where people are just beginning to understand the benefits and responsibilities of freedom. And wherever they go, I'm asked, how has America made it work for so many years? And I tell them about citizen service, and I tell them about AmeriCorps, how the young people in AmeriCorps are learning firsthand the power of civic action. They see playgrounds controlled by drug dealers or neighborhoods devastated by tornadoes, and rather than throwing up their hands in despair or waiting for someone else to take care of things, they roll up their sleeves and get to work because they know they can help. And they're learning that much more unites us than divides us. By serving together, suburban teenagers next to young kids from the inner city, next to kids who grew up on farms, AmeriCorps members are learning that what matters is not your politics or the color of your skin, but your ability to get things done and get along with one another. It doesn't matter whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or an independent from California or Maine or Florida. If you can hammer a nail or teach a child to spell, you have the kind of open heart and extended hand that AmeriCorps needs. So I thank all of you for helping to rekindle the spirit of democracy, and particularly to the AmeriCorps members who are here with us today and the new members who will be sworn in at the end of the ceremony. You truly do represent the spirit of citizenship and service that has always made America unique. And we are grateful for your willingness to serve. In order to take the message of AmeriCorps far beyond the confines of this tent or the White House or the Congress or the specific places where you work, we've been very fortunate to have created some videos that will be running on TV to educate more Americans about AmeriCorps. Because one of AmeriCorps' great strengths is that it's not just a government program, but it's a partnership with states and localities, with not-for-profits and community organizations, and with private sector donors. And a year ago, a group of those private sector donors, friends of AmeriCorps, joined together to see what they could do to make sure that this celebration really counted in making AmeriCorps part of the American fabric of our lives. That group was led by Eli Siegel, Alan Solomont, and Dan Dutko. Sadly, our friend Dan Dutko died in a tragic accident this summer. We miss his wisdom, his energy, and his commitment to this cause, but I know he is here with us in spirit. The Anniversary Committee has partnered with Yahoo to develop a new website celebrating AmeriCorps, and the ads we are about to see are the result of their work with GSD&M from Austin, Texas, and Peter Hart and Associates from here in Washington. These ads feature what I think is the perfect slogan for AmeriCorps: taking responsibility personally, because that is what every AmeriCorps member does every single day. I hope you'll pay attention to these ads, and I hope you'll see them often on your TV screens, and I hope they will spread the word about what AmeriCorps means. Let's look at them now. Since I've seen them before, I know the sound didn't work.
When that lady came to me and said she wanted her son to be just like me, that's when I knew I was making a difference.
AmeriCorps, taking responsibility personally.
hoping that by the end of the ceremony we'll have the sound working and we maybe can show those again, because I think that the message of the ads is one that truly does represent what all of you have done. And the next young man who will be speaking, is going to express in words better than any of us can what it has meant to be part of AmeriCorps. And it is an honor to introduce Andre Crisp, a young man with a great deal of courage, hard work, and spirit, who is literally changing the world and transforming his own life through AmeriCorps. Andre?
Hello. Hello. Hello, Class 6. Welcome. Good afternoon, Mr. President, Mrs. Clinton, distinguished guests. It is my honor to be here today. 2 years ago, I would never have imagined standing here on this stage today. 2 years ago, I was a high school dropout, moving from one friend's house to another, with no direction and very few goals. I slept all day, only to awaken and run the streets at night with my friends. I took some GED classes, but I never studied, and sometimes I didn't even go to class. I just didn't care. My life was all about me and hanging out and having fun. Deep down, I knew I had to change, but I didn't know where to start or where to get help. I couldn't get back into high school, but I had to get on a new path. So I decided to join AmeriCorps NCCC, the National Civilian Community Corps, where my first assignment, was to go to Puerto Rico and work with the American Red Cross after Hurricane George had devastated the island. I used to think my family was poor, like when the Boys and Girls Club would come to my house and donate food and gifts during Christmas. But when I went to Puerto Rico, I saw homes destroyed. I saw people standing in the 100-degree heat, waiting for food and supplies. I had realized how fortunate I was. My life was beginning to change at that moment. I was learning to open my heart and care about others, to put others above my selfish needs and desires. As an AmeriCorps member, I realized that I can help others, and I wanted to do more. Sometimes I think about what my life would be like if I had not joined AmeriCorps. Where would I be? Would I still be on that friend's couch sleeping the days away? Or would I be thinking about what I'll study in college? I don't know, but I do know I'm a different person now because of AmeriCorps. I have new hopes, new dreams, and a new outlook on life. I've learned it's not about me. The AmeriCorps booklet that you have received today is called Changing Lives, Changing America. Believe me, that's true. Serving in AmeriCorps has changed my life, and it also has changed the lives of people I helped. Mr. President, I would like to thank you. Thank you for believing in the young people today, and for believing in me, and giving me a chance to become a better citizen. In 1 year, I've accomplished more than I ever thought I would accomplish in my lifetime. I was pushed past my limitations, and I did things I never thought I could. I wish everyone could have the same chance, and it is now my pleasure to introduce to you the President of the United States.
Well, Andre, thanks to you, no one has to wonder about what AmeriCorps is all about. I thank you for your introduction. I thank you for your service to AmeriCorps and to your country, and I thank you for the power of your example. And I hope, maybe more than anyone else who speaks today, your voice and your story will be told out of this great anniversary meeting. I want to thank all the other people here who helped to make this day possible. I want to thank Deb Jospin for her leadership, Senator Harris Wofford, Eli Siegel for what he did to help us get started, and all of them. Let's give them all a hand. I want to thank Hillary for always believing in this and for taking it on as a personal goal that we would do something about the fact that when we had 100,000 people in AmeriCorps and everybody who knew about it loved it, but most people didn't know about it, she decided we would change that. And Eli and Alan Solomon and our friend Dan Dutko and others agreed to help. And I thank her for her passionate support during these years when we believed in AmeriCorps, when it was just sort of an idea. And she has done a wonderful job. I want to thank the people. Thank you. I want to thank the members of Congress who are here or who were here, Senator Specter, Congressman Quinn, and Congressman Payne, three who represent the bipartisan support that we have enjoyed. I thank James Lee Witt, Jack Lew, Janice LaChance, and others in the administration who have helped us. I want to thank our presenters with whom I will introduce in just a moment, General Colin Powell, Mrs. Coretta Scott King, Sergeant Shriver, and the Governor of Utah, Mike Leavitt, for being here. And I want to thank the Howard University Choir. They're going to sing for us and with us in a few moments. You know, it seems impossible to me that it was 5 years ago on the North Lawn of the White House that we led the first class of AmeriCorps members in the AmeriCorps Pledge. It wasn't very long before that I had the privilege of signing the legislation creating AmeriCorps with the same pen that President Kennedy had used to sign the legislation creating the Peace Corps. I always believed that you would elevate the cause of citizen service in America, that you would make America a better place. But on that day 5 years ago, AmeriCorps was still just an idea with a good plan, built on the remarkable path-breaking efforts of Sergeant Shriver with the Peace Corps in Vista, built on the remarkable service corps I had seen in Boston and Los Angeles and San Antonio and other cities, championed by some of the most thoughtful and passionate citizens of both parties, energized by, even then, 20,000 young people who were raring to give something to their country and wanted to be part of AmeriCorps. But still, it was just an incandescent idea. Today, we celebrate, thanks to you and your predecessors, a glowing success. AmeriCorps members are living up to the highest obligations of our citizenship. They are creating opportunity for others, taking responsibility for themselves, and fostering a community of all Americans. They are our best builders, building that bridge to the new century. You can see it in the way their optimism inspires others to also lend a hand and volunteer in their communities. You can see it in the remarkable teamwork and camaraderie that I have personally witnessed and felt all over this country in so many different activities. You can see it in the way they work together across the lines that would normally divide AmeriCorps members and eliminate the alienation that too many of our young people experience today. You can see kids who went to Ivy League schools and kids who dropped out of high school working side by side, serving together, giving together, and treating each other as equals, proving that Dr. King's dream of a beloved community is alive and well in the hearts and lives of the AmeriCorps volunteers. I could just give you one illustration among thousands. On his very first day as an AmeriCorps member in a small town in southern West Virginia, Scott Finn heard that local residents had a dream of cleaning up a boarded-up old schoolhouse and turning it into a community center. The school had no electricity, it had no running water. It was a complete wreck inside and out, an eyesore and a place that invited drugs and crime and mischief. So Scott, fresh out of Harvard, a long way from a little town in West Virginia, put together a team of volunteers and sparked a new determination to get things done. They hauled water out of a nearby creek to mop the floors. They negotiated a lease. They raised $50,000 in grant money. And today that sorry old school is a beautiful new community center with a lending library, a gym, and a safe playground. That's AmeriCorps at its best. That new community center is a meeting place for dances, for gospel concerts, for after-school programs, and a Boy Scout troop. It's a tremendous source of community pride. Scott is one of the 21 remarkable AmeriCorps members and alumni who will receive one of our All AmeriCorps awards. They'll all be introduced later. But I just wanted you to think about that. When AmeriCorps members like Scott first took their pledge, they promised, and I quote, to carry this commitment with me this year and beyond. Today we will help them fulfill the second part of that pledge. For today I'm asking the Corporation for National Service to develop a new initiative to connect former AmeriCorps members with service opportunities wherever they live. Habitat for Humanity, the Red Cross, the Boys and Girls Club, America's Promise, the Points of Light Foundation, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, the United Way, the National Mentoring Partnership. They've all signed on to help, all to use the incredible experience and commitment of our former AmeriCorps members. Like returned Peace Corps volunteers and military veterans, those of you who are AmeriCorps members and alums represent an enormous national pool of know-how and can-do. You are already 150,000 strong and growing stronger. I hope soon we'll be adding 100,000 new members to your ranks every single year. There is no question that you are now an indispensable force for change in America. After years of fights over funding and purpose in AmeriCorps, peace is breaking out all over in Washington. A major factor lifting AmeriCorps out of the realm of partisan politics here is the support of people and leaders, and especially governors of both parties, like Governor Leavitt, out in the country, who have seen firsthand how AmeriCorps members are setting off chain reactions of civic involvement, civic progress, and civic pride. In state after state and community after community, AmeriCorps volunteers prove daily they're one of the best and smartest investments our country ever made. They're showing us here in Washington what you can do when you stop talking past one another and start working with each other. Right now, in the middle of this battle over the budget, we need more reminders like this. Today, I had the honor of signing the budget for VA and HUD, for the EPA, for the National Science Foundation, programs to help the homeless, to give housing vouchers to empower the poor, programs for our empowerment zones that the Vice President has led, and for the first step in My New Markets initiative to give investors in this country the same incentives to invest in poor communities in America, where many of you work, that we give them today to invest in poor communities in Latin America and Asia and Africa. This is important. I hope this is just the beginning, and that we will do the same when it comes to the education of our children. AmeriCorps volunteers have been in the forefront of a lot of our education efforts, and I hope that the spirit you bring will infect the spirit of our deliberations here. We know that our children can have a good future if we work together across party lines the way you do. Let me just say, before I introduce the distinguished Americans who will present the All-AmeriCorps Awards, once again how profoundly grateful I am to every person here who has helped to lift AmeriCorps beyond the pale of a partisan political fight. I especially thank those who had genuine reservations 5 years ago and then had the follow-through and the courage and the openness to take an honest look at AmeriCorps in action and to help us to improve some of our actions, which we also did. Most of all, I want to express my gratitude to the AmeriCorps members and their leaders throughout this country who have lived up to their pledge and so much more. By taking your responsibility personally, as the advertising campaign says, you are breathing new life into our old democracy, sparking a new patriotism among a new generation of Americans, a patriotism of the home front rooted in the knowledge that our nation's strength and security and our individual possibilities are all determined in no small measure by whether all of us have a chance to live up to our God-given potential. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now, I'm going to introduce our four presenters, and they in turn will come to the microphone and do their jobs. From the moment her husband was struck down on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel, Coretta Scott King determined that it was up to her to keep the dream alive. Despite her grief, she got on a plane for Memphis to address the same striking sanitation workers her husband had gone there to help. She told them, "We are going to continue this work to make all people truly free." She has done that in every possible way, by leading marches and giving impassioned speeches for racial justice, human rights, an end to discrimination based on sexual orientation, by founding the Martin Luther King Jr. Center for Nonviolent Social Change, by leading the efforts to create a national holiday in her husband's memory, and by helping to turn that holiday into a day of service, not a day of rest. There is no one in America who is better suited to present the All-AmeriCorps Common Ground Award, and we welcome her here today. Sergeant Shriver often describes himself as a lucky man, having been graced with the remarkable and wonderful family he has. I might say the rest of us think he's lucky because, among other things, he's the youngest and healthiest man his age on the face of the planet. But our luck is just as profound, for America has never in its long history had a more compassionate and passionate man, more devoted to public service. He was the founder of the Peace Corps and the Vista. He served the Navy in World War II, created Head Start and the Job Corps and legal services. He led the Special Olympics, served as ambassador to France, led the Chicago Board of Education, fostered civil rights early when it wasn't so popular, and economic opportunity for the poor, all growing out of his profound religious faith and his deep patriotism. On top of all that, he is one of the most warm and genuinely unassuming people you will ever meet. We are honored to have him here today to present the All-AmeriCorps Award for Strengthening Communities, one of the greatest public servants in the history of the United States, Sergeant Shriver. Thank you. Whenever I speak about Mike Leavitt, the governor of Utah, and the new chairman of the National Governors Association, one of the most popular leaders in Utah history, I am reluctant to say anything nice about him because his state is so Republican, I'm afraid I'll hurt him and knock him down a peg or two back home if it gets out that I'm bragging on him. But his complete commitment to service and his generous support of AmeriCorps is one of the reasons that we are where we are today with the breadth and depth of support for this program. 2 years ago, in a rally with General Powell, Governor Leavitt helped to launch Utah's Promise, a statewide effort to mobilize all the citizens of that state to action. Already, it is yielding remarkable results, increasing literacy, creating youth service teams, recruiting and training more caring foster parents, a big issue for Hillary and for me. Governor Leavitt has been a great champion of Utah's school children, reducing class size, increasing teacher pay, equipping Utah's classrooms for the 21st century. It is only fitting that he present the All-AmeriCorps Award for Leadership because he is truly an All-American leader. Thank you, Governor Leavitt. Thank you. And finally, General Colin Powell. In 1993, General Powell, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the architect of America's victory in Desert Storm, retired from his extraordinary military career. I was one of many presidents who benefited immensely by his service. But that was just the first act in Colin Powell's remarkable life of service. He has gone on to serve our country as the leader of America's Promise, his national crusade to give every child the nurturing and support he or she needs, and to give every young person the opportunity to serve. Already, General Powell and his troops, including many AmeriCorps members, have touched the lives of millions of children. General Powell used to say in a characteristically modest way that he was first and foremost an infantryman. Ladies and gentlemen, I begin by introducing you to the infantryman who is leading the charge toward America's promise, General Colin Powell.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, President and Mrs. Clinton, and Andre. It's a great honor for me to be a part of this ceremony. You know, AmeriCorps members have a motto. The motto is getting things done. And they have a mission to make a difference in the lives of the people and the communities that they serve, to leave them better off than when they began, and to equip communities with the ability to sustain that work once they move on. For 5 years now, AmeriCorps members have responded to the call of service, tackling our nation's most pressing domestic problems. And for 2 years, I have witnessed their work firsthand while I have served as the chairman of America's Promise, the Alliance for Youth. I have visited communities across the country, communities that have united in a commitment to provide every one of our children at risk the resources that he or she needs to become a child of promise. And I have seen how the AmeriCorps program helps us with that, including especially the 450 new AmeriCorps Promise Fellows who are proudly serving on the frontiers and the front lines of our crusade to save America's young people. AmeriCorps members are out there leading immunization and healthcare drives, raising reading scores, recruiting and training mentors. And through their commitment, they signal to other young people that service to the community is a worthwhile, noble, and expected pursuit. Just this Monday in Waterville, Maine, I watched a new squad of AmeriCorps members ready to join in this growing legacy, pledge to their governor that they will get things done. These young leaders are a tremendous asset to America's Promise, the movement I lead, as well as to other crucial programs across the country. The Getting Things Done Award recognized the achievements of AmeriCorps members who have successfully undertaken challenging assignments and met critical community needs. And it is my pleasure to announce the winners of this award. First, they will all stand. Christine Packer. Christine helped make sure that infants in Idaho got the care they needed, helping to increase immunization rates from 50% to nearly 80% over a 4-year period of time. Tracy Chevreau. Tracy helped reducing smoking among school children through education, health, counseling, and awareness campaigns. Lin Ming Kong. Lin, a lawyer in Los Angeles, helped low-income residents of rundown public housing projects buy those buildings and renovate them and convert them into safe and affordable housing. Tony Sage. Tony started a tutoring program at Parkview Elementary School in Utah and also brought together college students and residents to turn around a nearby lot and convert it into a safe place for children and for their families. James Boland. James is a Marine veteran who is helping other veterans in the same facility that helped him 12 years earlier when he was homeless and struggling with drug addiction. Ladies and gentlemen, winners all, please join me in congratulating them. Yep.
President Mrs. Clinton, Senator Harris Warford, General Colin Powell, Governor Michael Leavitt, Sergeant Shriver, Mr. Siegel, Eagle-Eye Siegel, and honorees and friends. I am delighted to be here today for this celebration of service. My husband, Martin Luther King Jr., once said that life's most persistent and nagging question is, what are you doing for others? AmeriCorps has answered this challenge by bringing together people from all walks of life and diverse communities in a remarkable array of community service projects across the nation. Thanks to the example AmeriCorps members have set and the leadership they have demonstrated, America is a closer community today. AmeriCorps members who grew up in well-off neighborhoods serve alongside members who grew up with very little. And people from big cities serve in most rural areas, from national parks to Indian reservations. Over the past 5 years, AmeriCorps has given these men and women a chance to see beyond their own experiences and backgrounds and prove that diversity can be a powerful force for change. As AmeriCorps members learn to serve with other people of all races and reach out to people who are different from them in one way or another, they learn what it takes to achieve liberty and justice for all. We're not there yet, but if we follow the example of those who serve every day, we'll be closer to that goal. And keeping with this spirit, the Common Ground Award honors AmeriCorps members who have brought people and organizations together and have helped others find common ground. live peacefully, and work together toward shared goals. Will those who are receiving the Common Ground Award please stand? I have 5, I believe. Okay, all right. Right there. I see you. Thank you. Christy Hicks served with the 4-H youth programs in Pontiac, Michigan, and started a conflict resolution program for middle school students, teaching them skills in managing conflict and diversity, and then trained them as peer mediators and role models for younger elementary students. Mark Payne served with both City Year and Public Allies in Chicago, recruited young African American males to volunteer and serve as role models for others in his South Side neighborhood. He also started a blues festival to bring people together and honor cultural traditions, and engaged corporate, public, and community support to reduce violence among local African American, Mexican, Vietnamese, Caucasian, Puerto Rican, Filipino, Indian, and Caribbean teens. Jamie Lee Manning served in San Diego and San Jose with the AmeriCorps National Civilian Community Corps and City Year. She organized citywide service events for the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday that brought together thousands of children and their families from diverse racial and ethnic backgrounds in hands-on community service projects honoring Martin Luther King's legacy and teachings. Trampas Stucker served with the Washington Service Corps in his hometown of Tonasket, Washington, where he brought the special perspectives of those living with physical and learning disabilities to teach reading and math to disadvantaged rural elementary school students. Graciola Noriego served with the Center for Drug-Free Living in Orlando, Florida, on a diverse team of AmeriCorps members of all ages, races, cultures, and backgrounds to bridge differences among community residents. She started Culture Shock, an education program for the city's young people that has now reached youth in other countries through an international pen pal program. Will you salute these volunteers, these service people, but will you come forward to receive your award?
Mr. President, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a brief personal experience. I was born in a small country hospital. The doctor who attended my birth, Dr. Edmonds, was a small town doctor. As I was delivered, I did not breathe. Instinctively, Dr. Edmonds, long before mouth-to-mouth resuscitation was the state of medical art, began to breathe life into my body. For several minutes, I did not breathe. And at last, with a gasp, I began, having received life, a breath of life from him, I began to breathe on my own. Some time ago, several months ago, my mother called me. She said, Dr. Edmonds is near death. You should go to see him at the hospital. I arrived at the hospital bed, his hearing almost completely gone. I bent over close to his ear and had to shout. I said, Dr. Edmonds, I just wanted to come and tell you how grateful I am for what you did. You clearly gave me life. You saved my life. He said in a kind of whispered tone, well, I just always tried to help other people. And then he said, it is what has given my life meaning. For 5 years, AmeriCorps members have shown the power of service, particularly the power of service by young people. As they help solve some of the biggest challenges that this nation has, they will emerge and are emerging as the leaders of this nation. The Leadership Award, which will now be given, honor AmeriCorps members who have served beyond the call of duty, who showed character and who have demonstrated courage and exemplified service to others. I would like now for the recipients to stand. Keoto Young. Keoto truly understands the meaning of giving back. After getting support as a young mother of 4, she joined AmeriCorps to give children and families in Pittsburgh a chance for a better life. Kelton Young. Kelton works with young people who are in gangs or thinking of joining gangs. He pushes them to straighten out their lives. He believes that you can do anything you want with hard work, and he's a living example of that belief. Mason Jenkins. Mason has shown that young people in his neighborhood, he's shown them what it means to be a leader by pulling together community groups to solve problems affecting youth. Maria Del Mar Bosch. Maria has been a role model and an inspiration for people in her community who are facing literacy or illiteracy, homelessness, poverty, or other troubles. She's encouraged them to believe in themselves and to improve their lives through their own service. Jason Lapatutu. Jason has wanted teens in his neighborhood to have everything to do, something to do other than just the temptations that face young people these days. Thanks to Jason, what used to be a rundown laundromat is now his community's first youth center. And Arthur White, Arthur doesn't know the phrase, I can't. He lived on his own from the age of 15, and he joined AmeriCorps after becoming the first person in his family to graduate from high school. He continues to be a role model. He believes in others, they believe in him, and his ability to lead comes forward. Please come forward now and receive your awards.
Mr. President, your distinguished and brilliant wife, Hillary Rodham Clinton, as always, she inspires us with her knowledge and with her devotion to programs like AmeriCorps. No wonder, with her unselfish financial enterprise fit in completely with AmeriCorps, and no wonder that Harris Wofford loves you. Excuse me, he didn't want me to reveal that fact. Excuse me, Mr. President. Coretta Scott King has had to leave for an appointment outside this country. Governor Leavitt is still with us. And I'd like to say just a very few words. I think that I've had the greatest luck and good fortune of any living citizen in the United States. My wife is a treasure and an inspiration. No one excels her. I have 5 children. Every one of them is a success. They've all got married, and they've got 14 grandchildren. And every one of them is healthy. I never knew anybody that had more breaks, for which I'm not at all responsible, than I've had them. I think I've had the best jobs. I've had the best chance to travel all over the world. I've even been lucky in getting some money, so I don't have to worry about whether I'm going to be able to get breakfast tomorrow morning. My health, my home, my friends. But despite the fact I've been very lucky, I think, Mr. President and Harris Wofford, that the AmeriCorps programs and all of your activities are not only superb, but they should be twice or 3 times larger than they are today. AmeriCorps represents the best in our nation. That's why it should be bigger. And so does the Peace Corps, which should be 8 or 10 times larger than it is. You know, we spend a lot of money on outer space. It doesn't seem to me that that should be more than we spend on our own nation and on inner space. Inner space exists in every one of you and me and everybody on this stage. So I think that money spent on physical physique and games and competition should be no larger than the money spent on our mental physique and mental contests and mental games. I found out after about 80 years, believe it or not, I'm older than 80 years old. I found out that mind is more important than matter. Our souls and our spirits are more important than our bodies. Our future as a nation and as individuals depends more on our heads and our souls than on our bodies and how much money we have. Everyone we honor today exemplifies these qualities in our national life. So for me, it's a tremendous honor to join General Powell and Mrs. King, Governor Leavitt in bestowing awards on these exemplary U.S. citizens. May they be only the vanguard of thousands who will follow in their footsteps. And among those worthy of our praise, for whom we have awards known as Strengthening Communities in our country, there are 5 of them, and I hope they will all stand up now so we can give them applause. There they are. I realized just a few minutes ago that I was the last speaker. But I'm glad to see that the people I'm talking about sit in the front row. What could be better for me? And the first one I introduced to you is Jack Bridges, who after finishing college moved in to take care of his own family. With Habitat for Humanity, he has literally helped to rebuild his own community and has recruited others to do the same thing. Congratulations to you, Jack Bridges. Yes, sir. And there's Scott Finn. Scott worked with local residents to transform an abandoned school building into a thriving community center, and he got it done. Thank you, Scott Finn. Tara Oglesby there. Look at her. Isn't she pretty? Can you believe it? She serves with the Seattle Police Department. Oh, those lucky cops. Tara demonstrated the power of volunteers by starting a new support team for victims of crime and abuse. Thank you, Sarah. And then there's Anna Severance. Anna's leadership with a free mobile preschool program helped double the number of children served in her community. Thank you for that. And then Bernadette Ferkler. Bernadette has given families and communities hope by leading relief efforts after wildfire in Florida, after a hurricane in Mississippi, floods in Missouri, and Hurricane Floyd in North Carolina. What could anybody do more than what Bearden has done? Congratulations, Bearden.
Now, I think our presenters did a wonderful job. Let's give them all a hand again. They were great. And we thank them for their time. I want to leave you with this thought and then ask the new class to stand and join me in the AmeriCorps promise, and then we will hear from and sing with the Howard University Choir and America the Beautiful. When you leave here today and you remember how you felt, and you remember the stories of the people we honored, I want you to think of the future you would like to build for America in the 21st century. I want you to think about what you'd like this country and this world to be like when your children are your age, when your grandchildren are your age. If I ask you to write down what you think the new century will hold, depending on your background, you might say, well, we're going to find. Or if you're into computers, you might talk about the next generation of the internet and how in no time at all the number of internet users will be as dense as the number of telephone users in America, and how the internet might allow children in the poorest villages of the world to skip a whole generation of educational and economic development. Or you might think about how these two things will join together and we'll be able to put little digital electronic impulses and various parts of people's bodies that will help them overcome paralysis and have medical miracles. Or if you're interested in outer space, you might say you look forward to the discovering of billions of new galaxies and finding out what's really in those big black holes in outer space. Isn't it interesting when you think about all this modern, exciting stuff, the most sweeping discoveries the world has ever known? Don't you think it's interesting that the biggest problems we have in this country and throughout this world relate not to some modern problem, although there are modern problems like sophisticated weapons, but they're rooted in the oldest, most primitive problem of human societies. We're still afraid of people who are different from us, who look different from us, who act different from us, who have different views about how to worship God or live their lives. That's why AmeriCorps is so important. For all the things that I've been involved in all these years as president, all the things I've worked to do, I really believe, looking toward the future, if every young person has a chance to be a good citizen, and we don't give up on anybody, we always give them a chance to come back. And we had a lot of comeback kids here today talking. And if America can remain committed to building one America across all the lines that divide us, recognizing that our differences make life more exciting, but what's important is our common humanity. If those two things can prevail, more than any modern discovery, you'll be proud of the America your children and grandchildren have. That's why AmeriCorps matters and why I am so grateful to you. Thank you very much. Now, I want to ask the newest class of AmeriCorps volunteers to stand up and repeat the oath after me. Raise your right hand. I will get things done for America. To make our people safer, smarter, and healthier. I will bring Americans together. To strengthen our communities. Faced with apathy, I will take action. Faced with conflict, I will seek common ground. Faced with adversity, I will persevere. I will carry this commitment with me this year and beyond. I am an AmeriCorps member. And I will get things done. Congratulations. Now, good for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to ask you in advance to give a warm round of applause to the Howard University Choir. They've waited through this whole thing to sing America the Beautiful with us. Thank you, and God bless you.